and welcome back to You Up for More.
That's right.
I'm Jordan Abraham.
And I'm Jared Freed. It is so good to be back here with you, Jordana. This is for our YouTube as well as our subscribers if they for the audio version. And we are going to talk about Love is Blind Season 7.
Season 7, wow.
Season 7, we're in DC. Let's start with, if you haven't seen the episodes, this is going to be, we're going to get into spoilers right away.
Yes.
So you have to watch this or to listen to this. You got to get to the end of the pods this episode.
Yes.
So we're going to go over all the couples that got together at the end before they head off to Mexico. So if you haven't gotten to that episode where they're in Mexico, if you're not looking at a beach in Cabo, you might want to wait to watch this review.
Yes.
But we're going to go over all the couples. You're going to hear about spoilers. So you've been warned.
And before we get into the couples, I want to start with an immediate insult for Nick Lachey.
Okay.
As we do. As we like to start
Right,
with for every...
Them walking out.
Nick Lachey, within the first 5 minutes of the season, says that he doesn't know what a situationship is. You host a fucking dating show.
Right.
You don't know what a situationship is, Nick Lachey?
You've
never heard that term?
And then they walk out arm in arm. They don't even look like they like each other.
I'm sure they don't.
Like, it looked like before they came out, Vanessa looked at him and goes, "Come on, lock your arm with me."
Right.
Like, every time they are together, it is Mike and
Kids
Jan.
have to go to college. Let's get out there.
Right.
Let's go.
It is so, they're enraging.
There's just like bad hosts. You don't know what a situationship is?
Right.
That was just infuriating to me. I'm just like, the show's a good show, I have to say. It's a good show.
I like the show.
Hosts, not so much. They bring absolutely nothing to the show, as we've said.
Well,
we have to start every season's recap with just shitting on Nick and Vanessa. I think we did it.
We did it. Okay, fine. we can move on. So what do you think of the show, The Pods? Do you have any thoughts on The Pods as a general thing?
I think I can speak. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I'm going to speak for myself, and I think I speak for a lot of people. The pods are like very boring, especially, and they feel so much longer, I feel like, than they are. And I get they're necessary,
right?
But I think we're all kind of just waiting for them to see each other.
Right. And they're necessary is the main, I totally agree they're necessary. It is homework.
Right. To me, it gets fun once they're out. But
I would also say that these pods specifically were more entertaining than pods have been in the past.
Oh, you think so?
I do think so, because there was drama in these pods that I was eating on. I was like into.
There was definitely stuff to work with. I did note. Maybe I'll save it for whichever when we get to the couple. Should we start off with like the most controversial ones?
Yeah, we have to.
Okay.
To not start off with Leo
is a disservice to you guys as listeners.
Absolutely, Leo.
Just like it was a disservice to all of us when they didn't send them to Mexico.
I would pay all of my money to have whatever footage there is of Leo and Brittany in Miami. Whatever trip was taken to Miami by those two, I want to watch every story, interaction. Leo, I at one point, I just literally muttered while he was on camera. I literally went like this. I was alone in my apartment, my studio apartment. I'm eating from my one plastic bowl. And by the glow of the computer, I go, he's detestable.
So cringy.
He's just
so cringy.
He's so hateable.
Yeah.
He's so angering. I don't believe anything he says. The first episode includes a 15-minute montage, what felt like a 15-minute montage of him talking about how rich he is.
The most infuriating part about him is like all he keeps saying in the first few episodes is, I don't want a woman who likes me for my money. I don't want a woman who likes me for my money. All he talks about is how much money he has.
Right.
Well, it's very easy. Again, it's not like the concept is Love is Blind.
Right.
They don't it's not like they're getting a copy of your W-2 and then they get to see you in the pods and talk. Like, they wouldn't know if you didn't fucking tell them.
Right. He doesn't have to wear a gold Rolex to the show where no one sees
That's a choice.
That's a choice. And he could also, it's a little new money-ish, and I know the way he came into the money is a tragic tale. Like, he basically says, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, dead.
Right. Everyone died, and now I have all this money, and I want someone who loves me for me.
Right. And I have no one to answer to but me. I'm Richie Rich. He's the premise of Richie Rich. He has a big bank vault and he can do whatever he wants with it.
He just wants to be with a lucky woman who loves him for him.
That's the thing I don't believe.
That not at all.
I don't believe that he wants to be in a relationship at all.
People who I don't necessarily believe he has that much money, and two, because people
he
who
didn't
have,
sell the Van Gogh. He's an art dealer. This art dealer
the
thing.
best is when Hannah goes like, "Oh yeah, I love Van Gogh." Like that's. It's just like the least nuanced.
Well, he also right
conversation about art ever. Like the most famous artist in the world. Like I love them. Do you?
She couldn't even say like.
Do you like the Beatles?
Yeah.
Like,
I love Van Gogh. He also he never seems to show any passion for the arts. Like, I don't believe he even has a background in it. Like, it didn't even, there wasn't one conversation. Like, we had a physicist on this show. Mm-hmm. The physicist said things to, Garrett and Taylor get together, and they're having these, very high-end conversations where I don't even, I've been lost, and she seems to be turned on by this. And I go, oh, it's believable.
Right.
Leo, there's not one talk of his education in arts. There's not one talk of the business process. How does he get into it? Does he like it? It just seems like one day he was there and then the next day everyone's dead.
All
and
he talks about is the money.
His art, it was just the money. Right.
Right. It's all about the money. It just felt, the whole thing felt kind of tacky the way he talked. It's one thing, I would almost respect him more if he talked about, if you're going to talk about money that much, then say that's part of your whole
I just
appeal.
love being rich.
That's part of your whole appeal. Because
Right.
if you really didn't want someone to like you for how much money you had, you wouldn't talk about your money.
Right. Well, there's
the real rich people are not going around flaunting it.
Well, you
or
also
talking about it.
The classy rich people, they let other people make their own assumptions.
Right.
You don't need to lead people with cheese to how rich you are.
They show, don't tell.
Right. And he literally the whole time, all he does is tell. If he had said, "I'm actually an art dealer," it turns into
Hannah kind of said that too. She's like, I don't even really know what that means.
Right.
She could have just left it there.
Right. And she's from the mouth of babes. She is a baby on the show. She's the youngest woman there. Mm-hmm. And
I wouldn't know that someone who owned an art gallery was an art dealer was well off.
I would have no idea.
I would have no idea that there's a lot of money in that. I'm sure there are some that don't make money.
Absolutely. And I would say, the questions would actually make it interesting. How'd you get into it? Well, my parents passed and, well, did you go to school for this? Were you doing something else and everyone, passed away and you got thrown into this business? There's a way to tell this story that has nothing to do with money.
Right. And then he also, it's just so funny that he winds up with the girl who's the most interested in money.
Right. Well,
so it's it's completely untrue. You actually think this is a huge part of your appeal. Right. You pretend that it disgusts you, which is so much worse to me. It's so much more disingenuous than being have a lot that's, I'm a kind of an average looking guy. My personality's
got uglier
fine.
to me as the season went on.
I agree. He started off better looking.
Right.
My personality's fine. What I do have, what a lot of these guys don't, is quite a bit of money.
Right.
And that's actually what he thinks, though. And to me, the fact that he's pretending that he doesn't want that is funny and cheesy and tacky to me.
Well, he has nothing else interesting about him. Because
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right. You're right.
He knows that that's his appeal. That's why he tells everyone about it.
Well, he knows it's his appeal, but he doesn't have a second pitch. There was no point where he goes, because I don't think he has a knowledge of the arts at all. I think he is a bullshit artist. That's his art.
That's his art, yes.
Because, so we get to him being basically, he's between Hannah, the young woman, who is...
Are the people in the pods usually so much older in their 30s?
Well,
I feel like they're usually a little younger. They've been older this season.
Well, that's why the show kind of works. I think that's what makes this show different than The Bachelor, and I think why people enjoy it, because it does feel like they're here with a whole life built. Maybe and here's the fun part about doing this show. We got screeners to let people know. We watch these ahead of when the public gets them. We kind of come to we get the beauty, the privilege, but also it's a little scary. Do you think we're taping this before this comes out?
I was thinking that.
Is Leo, like, I was like, we don't know what the public's opinion of Leo is. No public opinion has been made about this.
Right.
So
we could be off.
We could be
from
off.
the general public's opinion.
I
don't think we are.
Right. But also we're not influenced by the general public's opinion.
Right.
I am sitting here going, I think Leo is a despicable, hateable person.
Yeah.
I believe he stinks. I believe that he might be the most hated. Do you think he'll be the most hated person on the internet for like a month?
Yeah, I think so. Because I think that he comes, I mean, if nothing else, like, okay, I think all the reasons we listed make him hateable. I think the way he handled the Hannah choosing Nick Dorka thing was also super cringy.
Right.
And then the way that he tries to convince her to tell her it was mutual was also quite, like, to me that, and also here's the thing.
Well, he's manipulative.
The villain is like all relative. And to me, there's no one worse than him that we've seen so far.
Right. He is going to be the
talk.
Worst,
yes.
He's the worst. He's wearing a Star of David. I personally, as a Jew,
think he's bad for the Jews.
I think he's bad for the Jewish community during these times. We don't need him right now.
Yeah.
I think he's like actually like bad. A producer on the show might, have an issue with Jews and wants to like, fuck with us a little bit.
They were like, Adam Brody is doing too well. We need another Brody.
We're gonna bring things
come
back
in to like even the playing field.
Right, because the minute his shirt was wide open with the Jewish star, I'm going, no,
right.
God damn it. I knew he was.
Don't do this to
us. Don't do this to us. He's off like the tropes, like the shitty, like rich Jew thing.
Not good for it.
It's just not good. I hated it. But you're right. The way he acts with the manipulation tactics.
Right.
When he's, so basically what happens, so it's between Hannah and Brittany. And so what did you think of Hannah and Brittany? What do you think of?
What do I think of, like, the two of them?
Right. I guess, like, let's go into the characters that he's dealing with.
Brittany seems to be like Brittany. Hannah seems to be like pretty hot commodity in the pods.
She seemed like a hot commodity for, I would say, when it was interesting to me that it's like, to me it was, she was chum in the water. Mm-hmm. When you say I'm the youngest one,
right,
you kind of offer and you see all these men kind of like go towards her.
Right.
And she's giving like a little bit young Gen Z. She has the Gen Z braids in front. Like she is the mascot for Gen Z to me.
Of them all.
But like to me, even like as 39 watching her, I'm going, she is young. And I think these guys, when they hear 26 and I quit my job and I'll see what happens, you're a low risk opportunity for a guy who might.
Right.
Who wants an easy breakup.
And it is so funny that Leo is between the woman who's clearly the most obviously a gold digger, Brittany, and Hannah, who says she doesn't have a job while proclaiming to want someone. How about picking one of like just the normally employed women?
Right. Well, that's
who
who he's
doesn't
drawn
talk
to.
about being taken care of.
Well, he's drawn to who he can impress.
Right.
How do I feel like a man?
But I'm saying, but then don't pretend that you're not. That's the annoying part. Is like, don't pretend that you want someone who loves you for you.
Well, he thinks he's smarter than everyone in the room. He thinks he's smarter than the audience.
He's not smarter than me.
No, not at all. I'm saying he's going to find out very quickly how not smart he is, or he won't.
He's underestimated. I assume he's underestimated. I thought it was interesting because, we're not in a bubble. These people have seen the previous seasons, right?
Right.
So I thought it was interesting, almost reaction. I thought that like Hannah's telling both men that she had lost 40 pounds over the past few years.
Took her a while to get there.
And talking about her physical insecurity. It did take her a while to get there, but to me, she's like, she watched the previous seasons. She saw how much shit Chelsea got for saying she looked like Megan Fox, and I think she decided to underdeliver.
Well, it also got in her head. You could
under promise, over deliver.
Yeah, I agree, and I think also it was in her head. She saw also like
she got ahead of it.
She got ahead of it,
which I think was smart.
And the thing with Hannah, what was very interesting is like she ends up with Nick Dorka, the kicker, who says he looks like Henry Cavill, so he hasn't seen the last season
or isn't smart enough to have learned anything from it.
Right, because the Henry Cavill thing, like you better be a fucking mountain of a hunk.
That's the thing.
To say Henry Cavill, like in the same way.
Can I see what he looks like? I actually don't know.
You don't know?
No.
He's Superman. Like Henry Cavill, if I saw him, it would be like, I would go up to him and touch his shoulder right away. I would have to, get a full body shot. We gotta see.
I need to see it on a phone. I don't have my glasses.
This guy, to say you look like.
Oh, he's hot.
I mean, but he's
Wow.
like wide. To me, he's like a buxom man.
Right.
Like you're not, if you say
So
Henry
that was this season's Megan Fox then.
here's the thing. We don't know how people are going to feel about this. That is another story that I really think is going to go wider than we even know. Like, because it's going to be compared to the Megan Fox Chelsea thing.
Yes.
Him saying, and when I saw him say Henry Cavill, I go, like, I was like,
No, you did.
I was like, don't, dude. Because the beauty of this show and seeing it so early is like, you messed up.
Right.
You messed up.
And here's the thing. The way that Hannah was talking about him was like he was this tiny guy. And I mean, obviously we don't see them in person. He seemed, if he hadn't said anything, I think he's like an average build. To me, he looked average. I don't know.
She was visibly disappointed. And
do you think he's an average build? I wouldn't think either way about him personally.
I think she is, I wouldn't either, but I think she is taller and bigger than, I think she goes for a taller guy. Right. I think like height matters to her.
Sure.
Like as a point, the way she said it too, very female. Like it wasn't that he was short. It was that he was little in her arms. I remember when they both come out, when Nick comes out, and let me just say, Nick is so lucky that Leo existed because we'd all be talking about how brutal Nick is.
That's
if
what I'm
Leo
saying.
didn't.
It's all relative.
It's all
right?
relative.
Yeah.
So Nick, when he comes out, I was actually tracking to see how tall they were. And I thought to myself, I go, is she taller than him? Like I'm like looking as it's happening. And then I'm like, no, she's in heels. No, she was in heels and they were matching heights.
When she's in heels.
But you can't be matching heights with a taller woman. She's probably 5'8", 5'9", I think she said.
I think they said that she was 5'9".
But she's also thick and he's thin.
Right.
So I think
she didn't seem so like much bigger to him to me than on camera.
That's what I thought. I thought that too. But then when she said it, I knew what she was like.
Right.
Insinuating.
But that's why I'm kind of like, if he didn't say anything, I don't think it would. I think it would. The way that because when you say something like that, I look like Henry Cavill.
Right.
That's how you say it.
It doesn't matter at this point.
If you say something like that, then you're like creating a picture in someone's eyes, which is why many of them avoid that. I think not just so that the person doesn't know what they look like, but so that they don't paint a picture of themselves that isn't what someone could disagree with.
Right. And here's what I would also say, I guess in Nick's defense, he's a suave talker. He
also doesn't look anything like that guy.
Nothing like him. But he does not.
It's not even like his face looks like him, and that's why
when this comes out, we will not be the first ones who have told him he doesn't look like Henry Cavill. That it will be the talk of the internet after, oh my God, Leo is a monster.
Right.
But I will say he talked, and you saw this, we'll get to in our next episode, we're going to review them going to Cabo. But there is talk in the women's quarters. That's a fast talker. That guy's a talker. That guy's a suave guy. He talks like a big guy. He talks with confidence like he gets a lot of women. And what you find out...
I thought it was a little too much, personally.
Right.
But yeah.
Well, it's not going to work.
As many women do.
You could even see that. In the women's side, they're like, I'm out.
Right.
No way. They even say to Nick, nah.
Too much.
Too much. And Hannah, the young one, of course she's taken away by Nick.
Right. That's a good point.
Hannah, the 26-year-old.
Because that's the thing. It's an art to be able to... Like, smooth talking is an art. You can overdo it, which I think he did, but that'll still work on someone a little less experienced.
Right.
Or you could be super awkward. Like, the key is to be somewhere in the middle.
Right. And he's playing the game. And you can tell he loves to flirt.
Right.
You can tell for him to say, I played a little professional football, and then there's another woman who, like, she doesn't make it out of the pods, but she's like, oh, I work in the NFL. And now he has to, I'm a kicker punter. Really? Did you ever, you played professional? Europe, AFL,
right?
Secondary leagues. And
start with that.
Well, that's the thing. How do you talk about it? How do you present yourself? This is why, like,
undersell.
Overarching, the pods, I'm a Bachelor fan. If you follow what I do, you know that I like The Bachelor. The pods make me sick to my stomach. It's
why?
Like hard for me to watch because it's all these people who aren't, you have to hear these people do their podcast on love. And it's really annoying. Like
Oh my god, the Leo, just to go back to him,
Yeah.
the kissing sounds
the-
had to be the worst part of the whole show.
well, we're gonna get to that.
Sorry.
I mean, because he does make the choice between the. I mean, we're gonna go 25 minutes on Leo, but we have to talk about him. Like, but I'm saying, like, when you hear like them, like, love is this, love is that, they're all speaking in idyllic terms because they're not really held to any accountability.
Right.
You know, I could see someone could say that about our podcast. Like, well, you guys, yeah, we get to talk about other people's lives.
We talk about hypotheticals. Yeah.
Hypotheticals, also real things. We get to like comment on real things in people's lives. I think when they get into the idea of love, I'm like, I can't listen to these people. Why would I care?
What else are they going to talk about?
Right. Well, that's the thing. That's why it kills me to
Right.
watch a little bit. But, you know, because
Well, that's why the couples fall apart so quickly.
Right.
Is because as soon as they're faced with a non-hypothetical, real-world situation, you were riding the swan, and it made me want to vomit. Like, that's a real
Right.
That's a real encounter, right?
Well,
that's
right.
not love is
right.
being fun and flirty. Like, no,
Right.
I didn't like that.
And Nick speaks, you know, knows how to speak about himself to make other people think things of him. So we have Hannah and Brittany. So when Brittany came on, in the beginning, I was like, gold digger, like annoying. Then I started to like her. And then I went back to being like,
Annoying.
not annoying as much as I thought in the beginning. I thought she was more knowing than she put on.
Like knowing.
She knew how to play the game a little bit more than maybe she
She
let
comes
on.
in saying she's going to dump him, and then she doesn't.
Right. And so basically the Leo, Hannah, Brittany thing goes towards, he tells Hannah she's the one. She's already decided, I'm going with Nick. He then yells at her.
Did he tell her she was the one, or did he kind of like, once he found that out, he told her she was the one?
Oh, I don't know.
It kind of felt like she was like, so came in there, started to break up with him, and he was like, wait. Like, I was about to choose you, but like, was he really? I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't believe anything he says.
Yeah.
So like, it just felt like, and when he would talk to these women, he always like agreed. He would he would say something, then they'd say something, and he would just agree with whatever they said.
Right.
Like, he was like almost bad at it. Like, he wasn't good at being manipulative. That it made me annoyed at the women for being manipulative.
It made me annoyed that they couldn't see past his like shtick.
Right.
Of like pretending to be a certain kind of guy when he clearly wasn't.
Well, that's why it's tough to trust Brittany, who's like, I don't like, you know, I'm mad about this. And then he goes, I love you, and I know you like to hear it.
Right.
And then she's like, you're right. And it's like, what's going on here?
Right. And then
Are you aware or are you unaware?
And the way he like convinces her to not be mad at him is talking about how big of an engagement ring he's going to get her.
Right.
It just all the whole time being like, and I want a woman who doesn't care about money.
Well, and then he goes, I know what ring you want. I can say it right now. And then he goes, circle or square? And she goes, circle. He goes, I was about to say that. It's just a total bullshit artist.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And he ends up going with Brittany.
She was not into it.
So then they have the reveal.
Yeah.
He looks uglier than he's ever looked on the show.
Because we've gotten to know his personality.
I know, but then he's got the shave. He should have shaved. He looked like he just got out of the. He has the red tie. Looks like Pee Wee Herman.
He thought the Rolex would say everything it needed to say for him.
That's all he cared about. He's like, he's shined the Rolex and forgot to shower.
Yeah.
And she comes out and he's like, he's just such a loser because he's like, oh, she's so hot.
Of course, like the hottest girl.
Right. This is the hottest girl I've ever seen. Like, you can just see him shrink and her realize the error of her ways.
Right. That she was
Right
not
away.
into him at all.
The hug, when he goes to sit with her, he's like,
I mean,
let me just grab you. It was the most
uncomfortable,
but also I couldn't look away. It was a car wreck.
Oh yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Most of the meetings are kind of awkward. They have like an awkward, even for the most in love couples, maybe besides except for Ramses and Marissa, who were like immediately just fucking.
Right. Well, it does seem to think there is a moment where you see them like it's like it does seem to fuck with them.
Yeah.
The voice coming into view with what they look like.
And I could see that. It'd be like
right.
it'd be like speaking to someone on Hinge for 4 months and then you see them in person. Like, it's gonna start off a little weird.
It's even weirder than Hinge. Not one picture. just a
Right.
voice.
Yeah.
You have
You're processing in real time as
Right.
you have to do it in front of their
and
face.
they show you every second of it, which is fun to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is great.
And so when
But they're all awkward, but this one was like
all time.
unbelievably awkward.
I was like staring at her face the whole time. I'm like, I need whatever reaction she's gonna give. And she held it together pretty good. But when they were hugging on that couch and trying to kiss, and then they started talking about Miami. And I'm like,
I was
where
like,
did that come from?
why are they talking about Miami?
And
Did they know they were going to get cut?
I think Miami might have been talked about in the pods.
Okay.
And then she was like, we're going to divert this to Miami. I'm not going on camera with this guy.
Really? You think she pulled it, even though
I
they
think-
said the
I think
producers did?
Brittany is way smarter at the way she described how the type of man she dates.
Rich.
She knows, to me, it was Wolf of Wall Street, the blonde woman wrapped around her
Margot
finger.
Robbie. Yeah.
Margot Robbie, she was giving that. He's wrapped around my finger. Him crawling at her feet.
Right.
Like that was kind of what it looked like when those two. And then because he's a nerd.
Yeah.
He's a nerd with money. And it's his first time getting with the hot chick. And he even says, that's the hottest girl. Holy fuck, she's hot.
Right.
Like he couldn't even act like he's been there before.
Can't even be cool, man.
He was such a nerd.
Well, I was saying like he brings back the word tool, which no one has used in a long time. And I feel like that described him pretty well.
You're absolutely right. Tool is
no
like
one said that was of our generation.
Right. He's like low-rise skinny jeans for Tool. Like he's bringing it back.
He's bringing it back.
So in the Leo Britney thing, after he had said, I mean, beside the point that he was like, Hannah, you're the girl, and then he tries to get her to like agree to this like this don't tell anybody as if it's not on TV.
Right. That part was weird to me because it's like you're gonna look like an asshole by saying this. Did he really believe that? Maybe in his mind he convinced himself it was mutual.
It's a true narcissist. No, he thinks he's gonna fix this.
Right.
He's a narcissist. He thinks he's smarter than everyone.
He thinks
even
that we're
us.
stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, tell him it's mutual, and then it's been you all along, Brittany. And Brittany,
are there guys who do this?
Absolutely.
Like once they're rejected, they go. It's been you all. Some woman out there thinking she married a guy who chose her, and actually someone else just rejected it. Rejected him.
Here's what Leo does every single time. He's always trying to keep the water out of the ship that's leaking. He's always reactive. He's never proactive. So like with Brittany, he's trying to cheer her up. And he's like, I'm going to surprise you tonight. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to surprise you. Because he knows a surprise is him trying.
Right.
So that he doesn't even have a plan, but he has concepts of a plan.
Right.
He goes, I'm going to surprise you. And then what does he surprise her with? Fucking nothing. A blanket with his cologne on it. Mm-hmm. Like, in what world was that about her?
Right.
In what world was that special to her, or what he remembered about their conversation? The other couples.
Like I'm going to surprise you with a picture of myself.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Like the other couples, they're sending flowers, and he sends her favorite flower. Like that's the difference.
Right.
So this guy's scrambling at every turn to just make sure
everyone likes him.
Right. And when
that's turned on him, when Hannah's like, actually, I'm going to go with the guy who's sure about me.
Right.
Then he starts to squirm.
Right. And he screams at her.
Yeah.
And tells her, I need more chances. I need more chances to impress you.
Right.
So, and then he says to Brittany, I love you. And she's like, not even giving. That was the best too. Like,
right. The fact that she was like, all right, now I've got the power back.
Right.
And I'm just going to like,
how,
and I'm going to come out. I'm not going to come out looking like a loser. Like this guy is going to come out looking like a loser.
And she even says, what have I done? Right. And it's like, I don't believe that she's so much a bag in the wind, but I think
she said yes also because she wants Instagram followers.
Well, that was the thing with him too. I don't do this often. I went and looked him up on Instagram, Leo. I was like, I have to see what this guy's been doing. He's doing man on the street videos.
Right.
He's trying to be
That's
social.
also why he's proposing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it didn't really like.
He's here for the wrong reasons.
I absolutely believe that because nowhere in the show, there's a point where you go, dude, why would you going to propose to someone? Why would you do this? Like, if you have all this money, just leave. Hannah didn't work out. Why do you need Brittany?
Right.
You don't even know what she looks like yet. So then he's like pushing for that. And I'm like, this guy really wants to just be on TV. Like, I think he has no moral compass. I think he's like, and I feel bad that he's like lost his family, but I'm like, I don't think there's anyone in his life that really tells him like,
This
you
was
look like
not
a
a good
fucking
idea.
idiot.
Yeah, this was not a good idea for you.
Right. So,
I'm sure on the reunion they'll all tell him.
I mean, he's going to hear it for minute 1. Episode 1, he will be a meme.
You will deeply regret this decision.
So
You made a huge mistake, as they say in Arrested Development.
That's right. So let's go on to Garrett and Taylor. What did you think of Garrett, the quantum physicist, and Taylor, the clean energy policy consultant?
It made sense. I think they're gonna go the whole way. If I had to predict.
Yeah.
I feel like they're like they had that in, like nerdiness in common. I did think it was a little weird. She wouldn't just say that she was Chinese. It's kind of like
Is she Chinese? Is that?
yeah, she's half Chinese. Her
Yeah.
mom's Chinese. She was like hinting at it, but not saying it. To me, it's like either don't say it at all, or say it, but don't do like the weird half thing, and then be like she was like upset at him for like wanting to know more. That part was like a little annoying to me, but he kind of told her that. So which I thought once he called her out and they like worked through it, I thought that was nice.
I thought they were the most likable of the people talking about love could be in the pods.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I kind of liked how they talked to each other, and
Yeah.
it wasn't too romantic cheesy. It was realistic. I agree with you. Her being cagey about like what I understand you want to not tell
Right.
what you look
But
like.
then just don't say anything. It's to me, it's kind of like the Leo thing,
Right.
where it's like if you don't want that to be part of it, then don't say anything.
Right.
Or if you do, if that's part of your like identity that you think someone should know, then say it. But like to me, it almost felt like she was like trying to like trick him into judging her. Or
Well,
like I don't really know what she was trying to do there.
Right. And it's also hard because it's like you're trying to get to know someone, and it's like, do you do anything from Chinese culture? Like, is that a
Right.
part of your life? Like, I should, like,
Right.
I'm kind of missing out on a portion of your personality a little bit, like from his angle.
And
Like,
he kind of said that, which
yeah,
I respected.
I-
He was like, you're kind of like saying things, but not saying things. And I don't,
I liked it.
I kind of like, he's like, this is kind of giving me a concern about you.
Right.
And they talked through it. And I thought that was great.
I do too. She's the only one that could say she looks like a celebrity, and I'd be like, you
Yeah.
nailed it. Olivia Munn.
I was thinking that too.
I mean, she's my, like, I mean, she's gorgeous.
Right. But she didn't say it, which is smart. Which is how you know she's actually smart.
Right. If she had just been like, you know, I'm half Chinese, and you know, I think I would have like been. It would have been. You can't say I'm also like I'm a 10. You know, like she's
Right.
like. I mean, she is like strikingly
very hot,
beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah. Like so. No, and
Much hotter than him.
Yeah, but you could see when they saw each other, it makes sense. The way they talked about, you know, physics, you know, being a physicist and all that stuff. I like that. The plant, they had conversations that were specific to them.
Right.
I liked them in the pods.
Yeah. I like them. I thought they were good. I also I kind of you know who grew on me? Steven, the electrician.
So we want to move on to Steven and Monica.
Yeah.
So Steven, the electrician, and Monica, the sales executive.
Yeah.
What I have opinions on them. I like them as a couple. I like him.
At first I was like I was not sure about him
Right, of course.
because he was like telling that 23andMe story.
Right.
And I was kind of like, what are you trying? I'm not like entirely sure what you're trying. You're going to do that. You're going to make this weird.
Right.
But then I don't know. He became like a little more endearing.
He really knows how to tell his own story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he knows what people see of him.
Right.
And I think he likes surprising people.
Right.
Like, he brought up how, you know, the 23andMe, he finds out that he's from West Africa, and his dad has, you know, West African roots. So he went and bought the book.
Right.
He knew saying, I bought the book, and wanted to learn about it. And he likes that, which I like about him. But you could tell even when he got engaged to Monica, the guys love him. You can see this guy is beloved, got along with people. He then sees Monica, and
She's really pretty.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
And he acts, every time he looks at her, it's like he turns into a Cabbage Patch doll. Like, he is, you can tell he's in awe that he is with her.
Yeah. Well,
Like-
I mean, as he kind of should be.
I listen, he's like 2 years of school,
Yeah.
but even her, like, I think to me, she's living a little bit in her own rom-com.
Right.
She's
She's a little bit trying to convince herself, I think, that she's fully into him.
yeah, he talks about cheating. He knows that that's going to come out
Mm-hmm.
when this all ends, that
Right.
there's someone that's going to go, he cheated on me.
Gets ahead of it.
He gets ahead of it, which you have
Smart.
to.
Yeah.
But even the way he looks at her, it is as if he just opened up a gift and got Power Wheels. You know,
Isn't
like
that how we all want to be looked at?
I pray that everyone gets looked at the way Steven looks at Monica. Like he is in awe. Like he's just like, he's got those big blue eyes too.
Right.
So he's just like every single
he
time.
looks like a little kid a little bit.
He really
like
does. And the curly hair doesn't,
right.
you know, he looks like the catcher from Sandlot a little bit. Like he's like, you know.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying. There's like something endearing about him. I get the appeal.
Well, her story too is a little like, you can tell there's some people that like write themselves as the main character of a rom-com.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of tell that she's a little cheesy in that way. She's a little hackish in that way where she's like, I go for the guy from the Princeton background and, you know, and I've been the working woman at 36. I never thought I could find a love like this with an electrician. You know, like she's got the My Story page written down.
Which a lot of us do. So
Yeah.
I think that's relatable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go back to
Tyler and Ashley. Those will be a fan favorite. I loved them. Tyler also had like a boyishness to him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Where he was like, he kind of felt like he was in awe of her. Just like he has a really good smile.
Right.
I think it's a thing with a lot of these guys. They have like when they like smile at the women and they're like very into them. I think it makes them very endearing.
Tyler also and Ashley, the God angle.
I like that, wholesome. You know,
It is
I
wholesome.
love Sean and Catherine. It's my thing. I
Well,
love a good God-fearing couple.
They are. That is how I would describe them. And
I'm not even religious, but
no, but you can tell Ashley likes it.
yeah,
Like you could
let's
tell
pray together. That's a thing that bonds them.
that does, and they're praying before things, they're praying after things, they're praying before, you know, dinner dates together, and he's got a prayer ready. It was like in the way that Leo felt like a liar at every turn.
Right.
A guy like Tyler, none of it felt put
authentic.
on. It all felt authentic. Like, and that is something that could feel very manipulative. God stuff. Like I think religion, like it could feel like, well, how religious are you?
Right.
How important is this?
Didn't feel that way.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I buy it all.
Right.
And so that was like why I like them as a couple. Like they got together on a very real thing that people do get together on.
Right. It felt deep.
Right.
Yes.
And her also, her eyes, like I'm like, I can't look away.
Yeah.
She has like cartoonish, beautiful eyes. I don't know. I'm sitting there like, and you can see when they first meet each other, he's like he can't.
Yeah, he's like really into her.
Yeah.
It's always great. It's what I'm saying. Like they're all a little awkward in the beginning, but I feel
Right.
like there's the ones where like they're really into each other.
Well, there's good awkward, bad awkward.
Yeah,
you know,
cute
like,
awkward.
Yeah.
And he just seemed like a really good guy.
Yes.
Tyler. I was very into him.
Let's go to Ramses and Marissa. What did you think of Ramses and Marissa? And then we also have to mention within them Bodhi, who
Right.
doesn't get the girl.
Marissa had a great energy for the show. She seemed like super like down for whatever and positive and like bubbly. And I think that she was also had that likability factor to him. I wasn't sure if she was gonna like Ramses, but she was like, they had like the most sexual chemistry clearly of anything going on.
You know what Marissa kind of reminded me of? And I don't know, like her, don't like her. I would never say I don't like her, but I just don't buy that we're getting everything. Like, I think she kind of reminds me of like someone who's at like a music festival that's going to be like, that doesn't acknowledge that there's other things going on in the world. Like, it feels very
Is
like,
that what you want from someone at a music festival?
I guess that's what you would want, but
Let's talk about climate change.
right. I don't know. It just felt like, she was just very, I don't know if it's
She was too earnest for you?
maybe earnest. I don't know if that's the right word. And I'm not saying it right.
Too happy-go-lucky?
Yeah, like it just, it
Not
kind of
cynical
felt,
enough.
it felt like she would get married if someone she met on a plane on the way to Vegas, they would get married that night.
Well, that's kind of like the person that should be on the show, though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And right.
That's why I thought she had a good energy for the show.
She was
I
great.
don't-
Yeah.
Yeah, she might annoy me if I knew her like in real life. I'm not saying that.
No, she seems fun and great. That was the thing. But I was like, as far as like, do I think her getting married is like a big deal to her? It didn't feel like that.
Okay. What about him?
Ramses, I think, is looking at this more seriously.
Right.
Like it did kind of feel like he was, even the way she talked to both of them, like she's like, maybe the way she kind of made Bodhi and Ramses, she knew they were friends.
Mm-hmm.
They both knew they were going for her. They are being very good sports.
I mean, when she broke up with Bodhi, that was like the best breakup of all time.
Right. Well, it was the complete opposite of Leo and that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was her not really, it didn't feel like she even at one point, she's like, we could be a throuple. And I'm like, for a half a second, I'm like, are they going to become a throuple? Like, is she like bringing this up?
I could see them doing that.
Right.
Also because like Ramses seemed like he was kind of like an open, in touch with his feminine
So
side
did
guy.
Bodhi.
Right.
I actually think, not knowing what the public will perceive this as,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be talk of like these guys who are like a little bit in that like
Slightly bisexual kind of feeling.
I'm not going to put that on them, but you could see where someone
Sure.
spectrumish,
Mm-hmm.
sexual.
But I think that's what she was into about him. She was like, he's a
Open.
feminist man for the ages.
Right.
Like,
Well,
he's, you know,
Right. No, I totally agree with you. I don't know. I just kind of like, it felt like person saying we could be a throuple without any care of the other emotional capacity, like whether they would care about.
Right.
Like you're kind of like,
I
you
felt
have two
like
men who are going for you who are friends.
Mm-hmm. But don't you feel like they might have been into it?
I don't know. It was a little, there was some of that there.
Right.
I would be wrong. I would be lying if I didn't have that thought of like these two guys who are very much seemingly on the like, I'm up,
Down for whatever.
genders on a spectrum types. They're not like Steven who's like making every penis joke he can. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know if this is all just like, it felt very like we're on a commune and everyone's just got
Well, that's what I'm
fingers up
saying.
each
They
other's
were all
holes.
like down. I think that's sort of the personality that we're talking about too.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, like everyone do whatever you want to do.
Right.
Free love.
It was very free love.
Yes.
Yes, that's the phrase I would describe it. But
They killed it at like Woodstock.
right. Like, but they did like the minute they see each other, they are like in, like it's like game over.
Yeah. They were
Yeah.
like hot and heavy.
Right.
For sure.
And then the last couple to talk about is Tim and Alex. What did you think of Tim and Alex?
It didn't really feel like they didn't really give. I think that's the couple they gave us the least screen time of in
Right.
the pods. So you didn't really feel like you knew that much. They were kind of like talking, and then they were together,
Right.
and then they were engaged. But I didn't feel like it. I mean, I guess I wasn't. The edit that they got didn't make me feel like they were that into each other at any point.
So it's funny because like,
I mean, we'll talk more about them in the
Right.
in the honeymoon episode.
well, here's what I noticed. And when they see each other, she's like, she starts talking about her body type.
Right.
And how she's like, I don't know if he's going to like it.
Right.
And then they come out and he is like head over, like
He's really into it,
he's
yeah.
really into it. And she's like eyes up here. And I'm like, it was interesting because it felt like she was self-conscious and she puts on a front, which listen, I'm not sitting here saying I'm not I know because I'm self-conscious
Right.
myself. She put on this like front, like, and he's like doing the dog bark and he's like, oh,
That part was a little cringy.
I thought that
Yeah.
was like fun. And she already knew that about him. And he's saying
Right.
in his
well, the
way.
fact that she already knew that about him and she picked him anyway, it's like we kind of have to accept that.
And he's saying
I
in his
wouldn't
way
like
how
it.
attracted he is to her. And this
Right.
is like,
Right.
again, to like
Well-
ignore that when this is the big reveal.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people say things in the pod. They like, they say things that they don't really mean. Even Hannah in the pods kept saying like he could walk out here, be like 500 pounds. Like I think she's the one who said that. She's like, I don't care, because when Leo was like, he's a stud, just so you know, and she's like, I wouldn't care if he was like the ugliest person
Right.
on earth. It's like, yeah, you would. Like we found that out pretty quickly. As soon as he came out, you said that you didn't like how he looked.
Right.
So like, it's just not true. Like
Right.
the way she was like, I'm concerned about, my biggest concern is if he thinks I'm attractive. Like, no, that's not your biggest concern.
Well, Well,
It's easy-
concerns change.
Yes.
And that's why the pods are cringy to me. It's like you say who you think you are, and then you become who you are when
realize
you
who
see
you're
them.
not. You're right.
And it's with Hannah especially, the dynamic changed.
Right.
She realized she thought she was hotter than him, so now she's got confidence, and he's kind of like trying to get her still.
Right.
when they come out and see each other. Like,
right. But it's funny that's like just not what she said. She
Right.
literally said the day before, probably,
mhm.
I don't care at all what he looks like.
Right. And it's like,
That was
ah,
the
well,
only thing she was talking
we'll
about
see.
when she met him.
It
Yeah.
felt like Leo's evil plan to like be like, he's a stud. Like
Right.
to make him like in her head, he just becomes more Henry Cavill. It's like, just like,
That was
become-
another annoying part of what he was doing. Like, you found your perfect person and I found my perfect person.
Well, he's trying to make sure that everyone has the story he's written.
Right. He's trying to reiterate that in case they pull clips. But
That's
it's
what
like
makes him really hateable.
as if they didn't record the night before.
He was so hateable that we can't get away from his storyline.
keep coming back to it,
back
yes.
That is. But I noticed the Tim and Alex stuff. I was like, this feels like oil and water.
That's what I'm saying. They didn't have any. I didn't really think they had that much chemistry in the pods. But then again, they didn't give you that much footage.
We didn't get that much. But even in that small interaction when they first meet,
Yeah.
you have this guy who's trying to do his cute thing.
Right.
And he's trying to like
She was not
love
having
on
it.
her. And she was just like, And you're like, you can't have fun with this? Like
She needed right. She needed more of Marissa's energy.
Right. She seemed miserable. Yeah. I didn't like I liked him. I was annoyed at her
Yeah.
in that interaction. But
I agree with that. I think she was a little bit of a buzzkill.
yeah, you just had this you're doing a crazy thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've said you loved someone 3
And
weeks in
yeah.
without seeing them. Now you're seeing them and they're like, "Oh my god, head over heels about how you look after you just said I'm insecure."
Right.
You can't take the win?
Yeah. It's hard. It's funny. It does seem easier in all of the couples. It does seem easier for the guys to like, they process the physical much quicker than the women do.
Oh,
The women
absolutely.
need like a minute to
Yeah.
like take in the person that they're seeing. The guy like sees her as she's coming down the hall and that's all he needs is the 3 seconds it takes for her to get to him to
Right.
decide if he's like physically in or not. The women are like, all right, I need like 45 minutes.
Right. Monica
to
kind of had that a
figure
little
out.
bit.
Yeah.
But when I saw that Steven was tall and big, it felt like she was like, phew. Like, that was a big
But
part.
once he was taller.
No,
than
you're
her,
right.
yeah.
It is interesting to watch that.
But it makes sense, kind
It
of like
does.
everything we say about men. They're like kind of physical first, so they're
Mhm.
probably like it takes them 2 seconds to be like, is the penis in or not? Is the penis in? And for women, it's more like, all right, we now to feel like, is there a pheromone chemical
Right.
thing? Like it takes us a second to decide.
Well, that's why the Nick and Hannah thing where she's like hugging him and she's like trying to convince herself, and then it's like this little itty bitty guy.
right, and
She's used to bigger.
and she's like, actually no.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
it's so funny.
that's our recap. If you love this, like this, subscribe. We'll have more recaps on You Up for More.
We've got a honeymoon episode coming out.
Boom.
Bye. The You Up podcast is produced by Belle Roman and Candice Maniga. Edited by Belle Roman. Social media by Candice Maniga. Guest booking by Ali Friedlander. VP of podcast is Chris Allen. And be sure to follow You Up at you.up.podcast.